Hello, in this video we are introducing the base info plugin for ProcessMaker 4 Community Edition. Powerful tool that helps administrators structure, manage and reuse essential organizational data across processes and forms. The base info plugin allows administrators to store, organize and maintain foundational data in a centralized and structured way. This data can then be used seamlessly inside processes, script tasks, and forms without repetitive configuration or hard-coded values. With this plugin, administrators can group their data based on specific organization needs. Groups can be single-level or multi-level. This helps users quickly access related information during process execution. For every data item, the system administrator can define extra attributes such as descriptions, formats, or validation requirements. These additional attributes help users understand the context of each data element and increase accuracy in form design and process logic. One of the major advantages on the base info plugin is centralized control. When a basic data item is updated, all processes and forms using that data are automatically updated. No manual edits, no duplicated effort, just clean and consistent data management. After importing the plugin into ProcessMaker, a new menu is added to the designer panel called Base Info. In this section, you can see key, name, description, create that and update that for every base info that you have here. To create a new base info, you should click on this button. You can set a name, set a key or description. If you don't set a key for this base info, the system will automatically fill this section for you. As you can see here, you can edit, remove or add data to this base info that you have got here. By clicking on this button, you see every data you have in this base info group: key, data parent ID, name, data value 1, 2 or 3. You can edit each of them by clicking on this button. You can see key, parent, name, data values that you have. To add new data in this base info group, you have to create new record, again by setting key, parent, name and data values. Now let's see how we can use base info inside processes. Within process design, there are two primary methods for retrieving and working with base info plugin. The first one is using API calls. If you are using the data source plugin or calling the API manually, you can retrieve basic data by making a direct API request. In this method, you configure the API call, pass parameters such as the ID and store the result in process variable. This allows your workflow to dynamically access structured data without writing code. For example, you can choose this API connector and set the name for this and data source. You can set the data source you want. This is only appear when you have data source plugin. The second method is using script tasks. If you prefer not to use the data source plugin, you can access base info using a script task. By writing a simple script, as you can see here, you can call the base info API directly. When the workflow reaches the script task, the system executes your script, retrieves the required information, and stores it in the corresponding process variables. In this process, we have one script task that we choose our script, base info test here. This gives full flexibility for custom logic and advanced integrations. Let's use base info inside the form designer. You can retrieve and use base info in two main paths. The first path is using direct dropdown population, and the second path is using watchers for dependent fields. Let's walk through both. Okay, let's check using API with data. Let's check using API with data source plugin. If you have the data source plugin and API access, you can call the base info API directly inside the drop-down setting. In data source, you can set data connector, and here you choose your data connector that you want. Then you specify the API endpoint for the basic data group, for example the group that contains a list of provinces. Once configured, the dropdown automatically loads the items for your API response. The other option is request data. It means you are using script task output without using data source plugin. If you don't have the data source plugin, you can retrieve the basic data before the form opens using a script task in process. Here the script calls the basic data API, receives a list, for example the list of provinces, and stores it inside the process variable. Then in the dropdown field, you map the dropdown's data source directly to that process variable. You can choose single or multiple selections. So in dropdowns, base info can be loaded either with API or with a script task output. Okay, let's check dependent dropdowns using watchers. Let's say you want to build a dependent field. For example, when the user selects a province, the form should automatically load the list of cities belonging to that province. This is where watchers come in. Watchers are designed specifically for creating dependent fields. When the user selects the province, a watcher is triggered to fetch the list of cities. Just like before, you can do this in two different ways. With the data source plugin, the watcher can make a direct API call. As you can see here, you can set the source by choosing one of these data connect. Based on the selected province ID, it requests the list of cities from your basic data API. The dependent dropdown city is depopulated automatically with the results. And the other option is choosing scripts as our source. If the plugin isn't available, you can also use watchers with data retrieved by a script task. Earlier in the process, a script task can call the base info API to fetch the cities of the selected province and store them in a process variable. The watcher then uses that process variable to populate the city dropdown. So for watcher, the methods are again API-based watcher and script-based watchers. At the end, whether you're filling a simple dropdown or creating multi-level dependent fields, the base info plugin gives you full flexibility either through API integration or script tasks, ensuring your forms always remain dynamic, consistent, and process-driven.